Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum tonight inside of Parliament, what issues are making headlines in the August House? Some of the issues we'll be looking at: the death of a nationalist, the body of Wilberforce Kakoma, Professor George Wilberforce Kakoma, the man who composed the national anthem and who died on Sunday, Easter Sunday, has been lying in state all day today. He had sued government asking for $500 million shillings, which he never got. We're going to be talking about that. We'll talk about the political standoff this week. MPs were also reflecting on messages passed on by church leaders saying, different things. The president should retire and so on. We'll talk about that. The delay in appointing the IGG, the Inspector General of Government. Now they are in court. The office cannot perform its duties because the president has not constituted it fully. The acting IGG has been there 2 years. The president says he's still studying him and other people before he makes a choice. We'll talk about that crisis in that ombudsman's office. Our guests tonight: Honorable Rolland Mugume Kaginda, Member of Parliament for Rukungiri Municipality, also Shadow Minister for Public Service. You're most welcome, Honorable Kaginda.
Good evening, listeners.
We're also joined by Mr. Asuman Basalirwa, President of the Justice Forum Party. You're most welcome, Mr. Basalirwa.
Thank you very much, and good evening, all our listeners.
We expect to be joined by Honorable Dr. Baryomunsi, Member of Parliament for Kinkizi, is also Commissioner of Parliament. Honorable Kaginda, today the body of Professor George Kakoma was lying in state in Parliament. He had asked government to give him a certain amount of money, $500 million shillings. They gave him only a tenth of that. Do you think the government treated him well? But maybe first of all, do you think he should have been given a state funeral?
Thank you very much, my brother. First and foremost, before I talk about our beloved hero, Professor William Kakoma, let me first congratulate the Parliament of Uganda and the Speaker and all parliamentarians of what happened last week about the Interparliamentary Union, because it's a challenge and it is on the map now in the whole world. Because when you see what took place here, really we are proud of it. And then from there we went to Easter season. And when we were there, that's when we had the sad news of our leader and hero, Professor William Kakoma. First of all, I want to say that this afternoon, though we have lost him, I was happy about the cooperation. I think there is something which God is planning for this country. I was in Parliament since morning when they have brought the body of our hero, Professor Kakoma. I was there. Everybody was there. Opposition members were there, besides the Speaker of Parliament, all cabinet ministers, most of them were there. And I can assure you I was extremely happy, and I am not shy to, I'm extremely happy to say that really it was in order for the government to honor him. And really I think even other Ugandans and my colleagues who are here, we are all happy that he was honored. So that's what I can say.
Yes.
And maybe to add on that, even the motion was moved by the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the leader of government business, but it was seconded by the opposition chief whip. So you can see really that
there was unanimity.
Exactly.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we've just been joined by our third guest, Honorable Dr. Baryomunsi, Member of Parliament for Kinkizi, is also Commissioner of Parliament. You're most welcome, Honorable Dr. Baryomunsi.
Thank you very much, and good evening, listeners.
Mr. Basar, do you think Professor Kakoma should have been given a state funeral?
Well, I think I have a problem myself with this country. Honorable Baryomunsi and Honorable Rolland here, MPs, maybe they should be guiding this country on one, who should be given a state burial? What criteria is in place? Should there be a debate? If I, Basalirwa, died today, would I be given a state burial? How do you quantify my contribution? How do you value my contribution? So can we have some parameters? Can we have some yardstick? Can we have some guidance? And it can, by the way, be as a way of a law from Parliament, that people who have made the following contributions will be given state burial. In the absence of that, I have a problem with this UNESCO way in which things are being done in this country. Now, the question you have asked me is a difficult one, because you see, culturally, we don't speak ill about the dead. You know, we have a lot of superlatives. We speak good, everything good, to the extent that we border on hypocrisy. Now, specifically, when you look at the late Professor George Kakoma, his contribution is going to live eternally. It is some contribution which you are not going to wish away or wash away for the present and future generation, probably until Jesus comes back. So if you asked me whether this particular person deserved a state burial, I would answer it in the affirmative, in the positive, to say that he really deserved it for the contribution he made. But that does not solve the problem.
We need some guidelines.
We need some guidelines, we need some guidance, and I think it's really up to our colleagues, the MPs, and also government, to ensure that at least a yardstick is in place, so that we even aspire towards that.
It's a funeral.
If we have,
whether you're a businessman or whatever,
yes, if we have some guidelines, we will aspire to achieve that, so that we qualify for this kind of arrangement, and so that the government is not, you know, they are not bothered in coming up to make statements on whether X, Y, and Z will deserve a state burial or not. You saw how the Minister for Information, the Honorable Okurutu, hurriedly convened a media briefing to say, no, I think with these guidelines in place, we will be really making life easier for everybody.
Of course, you mentioned the anthem will be sung for a long time. There's a possibility we might join the East African Committee and we'll have another anthem, but that does not take away that the fact that it's been sung for 50 years and probably more until we get to that point. Honorable Baryomunsi, what do you think? Should we have guidelines and for the, like he just said?
Yeah, I think I agree with my colleague here, Asuman, that we need guidelines, either in form of policy or legislation. That really is in order, because like in the last parliament we had a very unfortunate case where a judge of the High Court, not recall that it was High Court or Supreme Court, Justice Ode,
Supreme Court. Supreme Court.
There was a confusion. His body was brought to Parliament, he reached the parking, but Parliament was not aware that we were to have the body inside and the body was taken away. It was quite embarrassing. So I think I agree that we needed to put in place legislation or policy guidelines to stipulate what makes you qualify, get a state funeral or not. But I think it was good that the government made a decision to accord Professor George Wilberforce Kakoma the state funeral.
It's not a state funeral, is it? They've buried him formally, they've given him honor, the government will pay the bills, he's laying in state, but he's not been given a state funeral. The flag will not fly at half-mast, for instance. Okay,
at least his body being brought to Parliament for us to pay tribute, I think it was also good enough that, given his contribution, the man who composed the national anthem, which all of us admire, which never gets old,
it's a prayer actually,
even when it's 50 years. So really we appreciate the contribution that he made, and I think it was befitting that we get that kind of tribute within Parliament. Although there were issues which were raised, like the issue of the compensation, which to me appeared very unfortunate. It didn't occur to us earlier that actually Professor Kakoma had gone to court to claim this compensation, and we do hope that as we made a call as Parliament, that this court case should be withdrawn and the matter settled between the government and the family. That should be done expeditiously to avoid this kind of embarrassing situation.
Because the court gave him 50 million, that's 1 million for each year. Honorable Kaginda, how do we treat our heroes well? And as you answer that, talk to us if you think we have a national conscience.
Thank you very much. I think even in the Parliament I've talked about it today. I personally went to visit Professor William Kakoma, and
when he still lives.
Yes, in Kololo. But really, you could see in a family, you could see a gap between the government and the family. Because I tried to ask the mama, Teresa, a very brilliant lady, a widow now. We tried to ask her how the government has been intervening, but you could just see that really there was a gap. So, the way we treat the heroes, I agree with my brother Asuman and Dr. Chris, that we need all these things. We need guidance. First of all, we have committees. But the problem we have in this country, we don't believe in institutions, in building institutions. This is an institution we want. What can we do? But whenever there is a problem, you see somebody rushing as if it is we are campaigning, as if we are competing. So I think the way we treat the way we treat our comrades, we need to change. And I've said, if we want to recognize, if really we had recognized the way we have done it today, Kakoma when he was still alive, it was going to be wonderful. But of course, we are talking when himself was already dead, but we are telling the public and the family members. But I think we need to change the attitude so that at least this person who physically intervened all these activities he was doing by that time, he needs also to share, to see himself, so that he can also, I don't know how he can time it, but also to participate.
Well, now he'll see it from heaven, whatever
exactly.
happens.
So now that's what I am saying, that really I agree with my brothers that we need now from today that since we have learned, we need to have committees, we have to have policies so that they can support us in whatever we are doing in case of anything.
Do we, Mr. Asuman, do you think we have a national conscience?
I don't.
I mean, the Americans are proud to say, I'm the American boy, the American girl, and that represents certain things. Do you have a Ugandan spirit? Apart from Uganda Waraj, is there something you can say, I'm a Ugandan?
No, I think at individual level, I think a number of Ugandans have a national conscience. They are patriotic, they are nationalists. Unfortunately, some of them may not be given space, or some of them may not be very pronounced. I'll tell you, for example, I was watching TV and they were asking people to sing the national anthem. Most of them couldn't. I remember one time you hosted me here and we were talking about independence. You know, I think I'm among the few Ugandans who can sing the three stanzas.
All the three stanzas.
And you take it to other levels. When you go to ministries, when you go to government departments, even the private sector, you look at Ugandans at a personal level, at an individual level, exhibiting a lot of love, a lot of conscience, a lot of patriotism at individual level. Now, unfortunately, they are not given space. Now, when you take it to the higher levels, the level of leadership, political leadership, and you ask that question, I think the answer will be negative. You don't see much in terms of patriotism being exhibited at the level of political leadership and other forms of leadership. And I think that is a very, very, very big problem we are having as a country.
So the higher you go in terms of patriotism, the whole it becomes. Honorable Baryomunsi, let's talk about something else, the political side of this week. The preachers were telling us we should have the president retiring. He should name a successor. And they were saying that A4C should not have been banned. The church leader's voice, the voice of God?
Well, first of all, we have a constitutional order that is guiding our politics. And a few years ago, the Parliament of Uganda amended the constitution to provide for no term limits.
To remove term limits, 20 or 5.
Yeah, to remove term limits for the level of the president. And I think the members of Parliament spoke for Ugandans. And right now, it is Ugandans who determine who leads them, whether at the presidential level or parliamentary level and so forth. So President Yoweri Museveni has no mandate whatsoever to name for us the person who will succeed him. The Constitution does not allow him, and if he did so, we would challenge him. So
he's named second vice president. He's next in line.
Yeah, that's the vice president. But I mean, he cannot stand and say, Dr. Baryomunsi, I am retiring, now take over. He cannot. The Constitution doesn't allow him. And the Constitution allows that whoever thinks can lead this country can offer himself or herself when elections come. So while I respect the opinion of the church leaders, yes, but I think
should stick to the Constitution.
I think Ugandans who would want to vie for the presidential position should come up and vie for it. And if people don't want Museveni, they will vote him out. And we shall be coming. Just to watch this space. All right. We shall come to compete for these positions. But otherwise, I don't think
for the time being,
President Museveni should appoint a successor. This is not a kingdom, it's not a monarchy.
All right, well, I'll come back to you on something else later. But first of all, Honorable Kaginda, do you think we need a national conference? Some people have said, regardless of the legal framework, a constitution and so on, should we have a national conference? That there are issues that are boiling that we need to talk about?
Thank you very much. First of all, yes. But you see, in Uganda, because of many problems we have, I don't know whether, for example, people have lost interest in our parliament. I don't know, but so far so good. When you see the members of parliament and the interest group, at least you can tell that at least we still have a parliament. This is a
respected by the people as well.
Exactly. But of course, we still have pressure groups. These pressure groups, they have come up, they want to go to talk, but the government has stopped them here and there. They have been harassed, and that's why they are saying now that we need a conference, and this conference, to me, will be composed of all these pressure groups, the religious leaders, the activists for change. Everybody will be there. And to me, I think this conference will help the parliament. I have no problem with it. I don't know what my colleagues are going to say about it. But for me, for sure, what I see, for example, in Kampala today, it is as if there is a war everywhere. And whenever I see these policemen just walking when they are like 50, you feel uncomfortable. Because we have been moving, we have visited many countries. You see how if you walk around Nairobi and see, you see just people, and it is calm. But whenever you see these vehicles, police vehicles and whatever, you feel uncomfortable. So I think let us have a national or a conference to get all the views of these people. I support it.
Somebody has said it because 50 years, somebody drew parallels. Say the last time we had a national conference was in 1962 before independence. Maybe we should have another 50 years later. Mr. Basalirwa, president of a political party, what do you think? A national conference, yes or no?
Well, that is an idea which is highly welcome. You see, there is a tendency in this country for us to pretend that things are okay.
Yes.
You hear the argument, the president has just been elected, he won 68%, and therefore he has a popular mandate, people love him, and there should be no problem. Those are some of the sentiments expressed by some of our colleagues. But the president has been in office for about a year now. Okay.
Since he was last elected.
The beginning is 26 years. If you count from the beginning, it's 26 years. Yes. I'm talking about since the new mandate, the fresh mandate. But every sector in this country is up in arms.
What do you mean?
First, it was us, the politicians.
Yes.
For C and the others. When we came up to begin agitating for the conditions which we are deteriorating, some people said we were sour graping, that we had just lost an election.
Yes.
We were bitter, and we had the nugu over the president. And most of us,
and you anger, basically.
yes, and anger, and most of us were picked and thrown in jails.
Then later, what happened?
Then later on, the teachers came up.
Who else?
The teachers at primary and secondary school level. The professors in universities came up.
Yes.
The doctors. Remember what was happening in Jinja? The paramedicals. The business community. This Kizito, which was complaining that we, the politicians, were destroying.
They also came up.
They also came up. Utoda, you remember Dhaka, and Utoda, that standoff. As we talk now, it is now the universities.
Some boys wanted to launch a bus.
Young universities,
very young 20s.
Today it is Makerere, tomorrow Nkumba, the other date is Chambogo.
Right.
Now, all these things, I think, reveal that there are some deep-rooted problems in this country, which we have to be open about and discuss. Now, that has nothing to do with whether the president has a fresh mandate or not. It is just apparent that there is a problem, and we must be open about it, speak about it. There is a tendency in this country for us to think that politicians are the alpha and omega, that we are the fountains of wisdom. There are people out there who have ideas, sometimes far much better than us, and we really need to engage them. There must be a forum for such an engagement.
Honorable Baryomunsi, 50 years after our independence, before we mark the 50 years, maybe we should talk the whole nation under one umbrella.
But I think we have an institutional framework.
Which one is that?
We have parliament, but for instance, we have local governments which represent the voice of the people. We have churches, and even if you're not in parliament, there is a streamlined way how your views can reach parliament. You can bring petitions, you can bring
but FOC has just been banned
and so forth. Okay, I will comment on FOC. So I don't think that what my brother here is explaining really constitutes a crisis. Constitutes a crisis in the country.
We don't need to rethink some of these things.
No. What I'm saying, teachers demanding a better pay, doctors demanding a better pay is not a problem for Uganda alone. Doctors have been striking in Kenya. So what I'm saying is that if it is to provide the space for Ugandans to channel their grievances, their issues, I think we have relatively adequate space through parliament and local governments.
We don't need to press the reset button, the refresh.
What I would want to see is that we must provide the political space through operationalization of the Political Parties and Organizations Act, which provides for a forum where the political parties can engage, where President Museveni, Dr. Kizza Besigye, Mr. Asuman here can also have a forum outside the parliament where they can engage. On the issue of FOC, my position has been that I think the opposition needs to engage in a more civilized manner. Although I don't agree with the position of banning FOC, but I think government and the opposition must find ways of civilized engagement rather than just using legislation and maybe some of these harsh statements or decrees from the Attorney General. But I think we can negotiate and discuss and be able to forge a way forward for the country. Because all of us are Ugandans and we should be able to fit into Uganda.
This is Spectrum on Radio 1. We'll be back after this break. Do stay tuned.
Special fares to the US, London, China, and India, with extra baggage allowance on selected flights. To book your flight, contact your local travel agent or call us on 041-7800-900 or book online at QatarAirways.com/UG. Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Terms and conditions apply. When Junior lost his appetite, his mother tried all methods to get him to eat. She tried scary stories.
Eat, Tommy, eat, or the big black elephant will come and eat all your food.
She tried magic.
Tommy, if you eat your food, I will turn this handkerchief into sweets. Look, bumble, bumble, boom, boom.
Then she discovered Apetol multivitamin syrup with lysine.
Mommy, I finished all the food. I am number 1.
Apiton multivitamin with lysine is helping mothers to turn mealtime frustration to a fun moment. Apiton has a great taste and contains lysine, which quickly improves your child's appetite and supports healthy growth. Apiton, health for life.
John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special.
You've earned it. Not for sale to persons under 18.
Accept no substitutes.
Radio 1, FM 90.
Welcome back to Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight, inside of Parliament, what issues are making headlines in the August House? Our guest tonight, Honorable Dr. Baryomunsi, Kinkizi East MP, also Commissioner of Parliament, Honorable Rolland Mugume Kaginda, MP for Rukungiri Municipality, also Shadow Minister for Public Service, and Mr. Asuman, Basalirwa, a well-known voice, President of the Justice Forum Party. You'll be able to call in and contribute to this discussion. I would like us to talk about the IGG, but before we talk about the IGG, and maybe let's talk about why should the president have delayed to appoint the IGG? Now it's causing a crisis. They have to go to court. Honorable Baryomunsi.
Well,
you don't want to talk about
no, that question should go to the spokesperson of the president. Because the IGG should have been appointed yesterday or the other day. So really it's unfortunate that the office is incomplete, and really the declaration by the Constitutional Court is really unfortunate to all of us, especially in the fight against corruption.
Because right now we don't really have that office, though.
Actually, some members of Parliament have already drafted a motion for us to consider as Parliament to urge the President to urgently appoint the IGG and make sure the office is fully occupied. And I was also taken aback by the Attorney General. You see, he chose to go and make the argument in court rather than advising the President that the IGG should be fully constituted. That should have been his first assignment if he saw that, rather than going to court to make that revelation and persuade the court to actually throw out the case. So we do hope that the President has the lessons to learn from this, and he should be able to appoint the IGG sooner than later.
And of course it casts a shadow on his credentials, his crime-busting credentials, his graft-busting credentials. So all I'm going to say is not interesting.
I want to assume that the President didn't know the implication of all this. I think he thought the IGG could still prosecute cases.
It was like Uganda Wild Earth Authority.
I'm sure you could also be equally shocked by the ruling of the court. But the IGG has told the public that he has appealed, but most likely the President also is shocked by this kind of
24 hours later the shock has not been. Let's hear from you.
Thank you very much. I think I disagree with the Honorable Chris.
Yes.
What is happening? Why is it happening today? Why? Because the IGG, this office has been there, and we have been seeing the people. I remember one time Honorable Zindana was there for a long time.
From 9
Then Honorable Tumwesige was there. Why now? I think there is a problem. From when we are studying, I have talked about the institution of building this country. To me, I think the president, the people who are advising the president these days, maybe they should watch out and come out with a program. To me, I think that's why I'm saying there is a problem. I don't know who is really advising. And when you hear the advisors, the president, they are more than
Quite a few, maybe more than 30.
More than 100.
There you are.
So all those advisors are there.
And they drive nice cars.
Just see a office, the office is vacant for more than 2 years. Why? I think there is a problem. That's why in the opposition, sometimes we see that there is a problem. And whenever we want to come out and talk about all these problems, we are not given a political space.
No, but the president has been quoted as saying that he has been looking for a game warden who is not a poacher.
Exactly.
So
and that's why we are
somebody who can able fit into that office.
That's why we are saying that is the tsunami we are talking about. If you see now the institution of government just fighting each other, you know that there is a problem.
And so coordinated
now the police is on the street beating the activists. I don't know what they are going to do now, because you can see already now the IGG already is fighting the courts of law. Now what is that? And these are all institutions of government.
Do the checks and balances within the institutions. Yes.
The head of state wants a clear man who will not poach the animals.
First of all, I'll not talk as a lawyer. Let me first talk as a politician. Number one, the president has insulted Ugandans to say that for all that long he's trying to look for a capable,
2.5 years,
corrupt-free, a person of impeccable character and insurmountable integrity. It's really an insult. And I think the president should really apologize to Ugandans. The president should not tell us that with all the facilities and resources at his disposal, the intelligence network, he can fail to access or come across a person who can diligently serve as IGG. That explanation is inexcusable, and I think it's an insult to Ugandans. 33 million people with all the facilities at his disposal. In fact, I am among those who believe that what the president is doing is deliberate. I have told you here before that the fight against corruption is not through laws, it's not through institutions, it is through political will. The actions of those in power, the actions of those with authority to act, is what actually translates into a genuine fight against corruption. I will tell you, the idea of an incomplete inspectorate is not coming up for the first time. Honorable Kurisa has been in parliament for a long time. He knows very well that at one time the IGG sent a budget, went to defend their budget in parliament.
Yes, and it was sent.
And I remember it was the Honorable Katuntu and I think the Honorable Rukwago who raised the issue that money cannot be approved to you because the inspectorate is not complete. The Honorable Sekandi, I think he consulted Nyombe, I don't remember at that time. And conveniently, the matter was resolved in that manner. At that time, those who are close to the president, and because the president follows what happens in parliament, he should have taken time to consult the others. Okay? In fact, the Honorable Nyombe knew about this before he became Attorney General. And what the president is saying and the argument of the Attorney General in the Constitutional Court is really an indictment on him. I want to propose when we meet in the Uganda Law Society, this Attorney General should also be suspended from the Uganda Law Society. Why? Because it's becoming a disgrace to the legal profession.
Go on.
Is the one saying FOC should be banned? Is the one going to court to say, I agree with the petitioners? Is, in other words, abdicating from his constitutional roles as an Attorney General. And I think that is a very, very, very fundamental problem, and there must be a check. The way we did to General Kaifura, to the former Attorney General Kidu Makuya.
What did you do to them?
We suspended them from the Uganda Law Society.
So they can't set up a law practice?
No. The suspension was time bound.
6 months.
6 months. In fact, recently we were in Entebbe and the Honorable Kidu Makuya appeared, and some people were raising issues about his presence, and we agreed that no, the suspension ended. Honorable Nyombe is becoming a disgrace. In fact, all this is because of Honorable Nyombe. he got to know about this even before he became Attorney General. He should have advised the president. And I think there must be no reasons whatsoever. I believe I have no problem with the petitioners. The path they took, they were absolutely in order. If I discover a loophole, if I discover a lacuna in the law, and I pursue it, I am going to take it.
All right.
I'm going to take it. So I think there is no problem with the petitioners. I would have done the same thing, and I think Chris would have done the same thing, and Rolland would have done the same thing. What is inexcusable in these circumstances is how the president can let this thing go on up this point in time. I think the whole country we should join hands in heaping all our blame on the president. One, for this that is an ominous pointer that the president is actually not committed to the fight against corruption, and this could actually be tricks. This could be tricks to let off people who are presumably close to the president. And you cannot rule out the fact that this was a calculated move. Okay? Somebody should have eavesdropped or, silently given information to Kutesa and the company to say, you go to court, we will come and concede, and you will be off the hook. You cannot rule out all those underhand and subterfuge methods we are seeing actually in government. Right. So I think the president should really act.
You should appoint that man within the next not too many hours.
And there are very many people who are capable, even in the NRM itself.
And the FDC?
Even among Ugandans, they are there.
All right. Before we get to hear from the listeners, do you think, Honorable Baryomunsi, do you think the 9th Parliament will restore term limits? It's been a call that has been with us for a long time. Do you think one day you'll wake up, whether you had a dream or not, and say, let's restore term limits?
But please talk the 5 million. Why are you asking him about?
I was not in the 7th Parliament. No, we took the 5 million. If you want my position on term limits, that yes, if the bill or the motion came today,
you would support
I would support the restoration of term limits.
Honorable Kaginda, do you
can't speak for my other colleagues, but I think yes, I think we can restore term limits at the 9th Parliament.
How do you read the mood, Honorable Kaginda, before we go to the listeners? Do you think it's possible in this Parliament?
Right now it is possible because I can see even many NRM members of Parliament, I think they feel this is the time. So I think what we are late. If this issue comes, I think it will be supported overwhelmingly.
All right, listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. You can call in now. Our numbers 0414 348 111, 0312 260 390, 0312 261 390. When you call in, please tell us your name and where you are calling from. Spectrum, hello? Hello? We can hardly hear you, my friend. Could you move to a better line? No, we can't. We really can't hear you. Spectrum, hello? Hello? Yes, sir, your name? Yes. Spectrum, hello? Okay. Hello? Hello? Please tell us your name and where you are calling from. Our numbers again 0414348111, 0312260390, 0312261390. The lines are open. Spectrum, hello? Good evening, your name? I'm not a politician. I don't have the blood of a politician in my veins. Spectrum, hello? Hello? Good evening, your name? Yes? All right, Spectrum, hello? Hello? Very well, thanks. How is it? Your name? Ahmed. Your line is very, very bad. Your line is extremely bad. Would you like to move to a better line, probably? Yes, go on. Hello? Go on. Okay, your line was not very clear, but let's take a final caller for tonight. All right, let's get back to this. Yes, your name? Your name again? Let's get straight back to this. Honorable Baryomunsi,
yes.
Give us your opinion on those thoughts.
Well, first of all, Mr. Sejirinya had the opportunity just a few months ago when we went to the general elections. If we thought that this is a despotic regime, I think Ugandans spoke through the elections and the results were very clear. And like I said at the beginning, we have a constitutional order on how to remove leaders and how to elect our own leaders. And therefore, we must follow our constitution. You cannot now ask the president or me myself that I should resign simply because there is this MNC. On the issue of the IGG, I want to still think that the problem could be the people who advise the president on some of these appointments, because the president is very busy, and I don't think that he knew that this is the position of the law, that the IGG, as currently constituted, actually is illegally replaced, that he cannot prosecute cases. I'm sure he must be equally shocked. But this is, I think, a reminder to him that he should sooner than later appoint a substantive IGG. But I don't agree with my brothers who are saying the president might be doing it intentionally so that his colleagues, the indicted ministers, could escape justice. He is the very person who set up the institution of the IGG, so why would he want to use the same institution to disappoint his own work? So I really want to defend the president that on this.
Your party president as well?
Yes, that most likely he also didn't know that actually the IGG is not fully constituted.
So he knew, but he admitted, but he said he was still looking around. Maybe he didn't know the severity of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jimmy is saying the age gap, the old men are tired. Yes, I partly agree that we have the crop of leaders who have been in power for some time, And I think they must sooner than later hand over to us, the younger generation. And we expect that the replacement of President Yoweri Museveni should not be from his contemporaries, whether SJ or Kenya or Babazi or whoever.
Not even the vice president?
No.
You think so?
Those, when he retires, he should retire with his contemporaries and leave space for us, the upcoming political leaders in this country.
Asuman,
and we are going to pursue that position. That's why I said watch this space.
What's this?
And the problem has been even within the NRM that when the president offers himself as a candidate,
nobody else
fear. Many people fear. They talk in the corridors, in whispers, they have interest, but they fear to come up.
Including you as a fool.
Yes. It's not Basalirwa. Talk to us.
Yes, before
the church leaders, before Asuman comes in, there are bishops who become bishops at the age of 45, 46, and they serve up to the age of 65. Because they are also
God is still talking to
age limits. So even our constitution has an age limit of 75 years. So President Museveni, when he clocks 75 years, he will live.
He wants to
still wants to stand. So
Asuman Basalirwa,
the bishops should follow
your response.
Also at the board
very
of
yes. Well, I think what should really be clear, the bishops and other religious leaders are not talking about a successor. They are talking about the president retiring, and I think they are doing it in good faith. Chris here is a doctor. President Museveni has been in power for 26 years. Given his schedule, I don't think the president, throughout those 26 years, he has ever spent 8 hours sleeping.
He's a very alert man.
The recommended hours professionally for the medical profession.
He's very patriotic.
But it has an impact really on his life. So I think we should listen to the religious leaders. For me, I even think that first of all, I am very disappointed with the leadership of the Muslim community. They have really been a very big embarrassment. They have been a disgrace.
They've not spoken.
They are quiet, very subtle. They have left their flock to meander like
sheep without a shepherd.
And I really think that we should, and yet Islam and politics are inseparable. In fact, the Quran is very clear on that. The Prophet was both a politician and a religious leader. So for our leaders in Chiburi, in Holy Kampala, in Nakasero, to keep quiet, I think they must also be forced out. They are really doing a disservice. But I believe,
and all Kampala.
I believe,
we should go the one in Chiburi or the one in the one.
All of them, I don't give a damn. But I believe that the religious leaders should even go beyond making these comments. For me, I believe
what should they do?
They should do it the Malawi way. The Public Affairs Committee, to prophesy that this man should actually, I believe they should do, because these comments, we have heard them, they have made them. Let there be a national prayer, specifically to President Museveni to retire. And if he does not retire, they should invoke more serious prayers. But finally, by the way, on that argument, please be very careful about the comment that Ugandans voted Museveni. Be very careful, because we know where there have been elections, where people have won massively, and people rise up. I think elections are merely a smoke. Underlying issues are more important and should be regarded more seriously.
I have a minute.
He was voted. Does that remove the problem of Ugandans?
Thank you very much, Edmond. I think, first of all, let me thank the callers, the Makolo, Kavuma, Jimmy, and the others. I want to thank them. But, Edmond, when you see what happened during the Easter season, all messages were centered on a peaceful transfer of power, harmonious living, and forgiveness. They are really telling His Excellency, the President, that you see, 2006, you were 70 years.
Yes.
2011.
He wasn't 70. He's supposed to be 67 now, I think.
How are you counting?
No, he was 67.
Not the real age, by the way.
Let's not talk about
I'm just giving an example that maybe by that time now you are aging. So, as the Bible says, really when you are aging, even if you are the head of the family, you start to prepare. you start to see how can you prepare. You start to put down a will.
Yes.
So for them now, they are prophets. They are saying our president should start to look into all those things.
Political will.
Exactly. So that we don't see chaos. And Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, as a senior brother of mine, he knows it, that anything can happen. What we need a transfer of power.
There's a constitutional process.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Our time is up. Thank you very much, dear guest. Honorable Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, Kinkizi is the MP, also Commissioner of Parliament. Thank you for coming to Spectrum. Mr. Asuman Basalirwa, President of the Justice Forum Party. Thank you very much. The youngest political party president, I believe. Thank you very much for coming. Honorable Rolland Mugume Kaginda, Rukungiri MP, Rukungiri Municipality MP, also Shadow Minister for Public Service. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond Kizito. Spectrum returns tomorrow. Up next is the news.
Thank you.